Judy, the last time we had a conversation about what is the cost of a customer who never tells us that they had a bad experience with us. What is that affecting in any type of business?
Well, I think if a customer has been disgruntled or unhappy and is afraid to tell you that, that tells you about the essence of your relationship already, right?
Right.
I mean, the fact that they can't even feel comfortable to disclose how they truly feel about your client experience is already indicating that you don't have a very strong relationship. And nowadays, when there's so many options and there's so many choices, I believe customer experience is probably one of the top three biggest components in being successful for a brand. If you can't sustain customer experience in your business, there's nothing holding it together. There's no legs holding it together. No matter how great your brand is, there's no loyalty there.
Right. I've found that it's really important for the leader of the team or the company to share the vision of not only what the customer service experience description is, but what the behaviors are that have to come in and make it happen. And I've had experiences where I can see the disconnect. They have a vision of how they'd like to be this great customer service entity, but they don't put the support in for either the staff to follow through.
Correct.
Or they don't do any training for the staff. What are your thoughts on?
Well, I see two types of customer experience. There's like the online experience, right? The user navigation, where let's say e-commerce product or it's a service provider where everything's online and your point of entry of how they can contact you is a form of customer experience. I call them entry points for lead forms. So let's say I go to a site that does business consulting or any kind of consulting, and I have to constantly look for how to contact you. Like I can't find your phone number or email. It's not very visible, or the lead form is just one page at the very end. Why not have different entry points? Whereas you have a template on a footer where it's just always there as a lead form or a free quote. And that's what we've done for clients, is creating those entry points, these call to action forms, different locations or different positions on the website. So that's the online world. And then how quickly you respond to them on email or phone or chat. That's my thinking for an online business. Let's say we move it to a physical office, like a doctor's office or a spa. Now we're dealing with the physical customer experience where the staff member from the very beginning at the guest desk, right, or at the front desk, if you're rude to the customer coming in because you're in a bad mood, I feel like has dissipated all the efforts of the digital marketing department that they've been pushing out for the last, 3-5 years of saying that we have great reputation and brand integrity. And it doesn't even matter how great your product is at that point, because they're experiencing firsthand in real time that, wow, this is how your company staff treats me.
This is where I just love to have the conversation about sales and customer training, because it really comes down to the individual's awareness. And I realize that a lot of people don't understand that they're responsible for their own attitude. That they're responsible to come in and be, I'll use an old expression, ship shape for the day. And and that is a coachable moment that I used to have to do often with my team. It's like, I really need you to leave whatever's going in your life outside, or please come in and tell me that you need 30 more minutes to handle whatever, but I need your full presence when you are here. And that person at the counter needs your full presence. And if you're unclear about what presence means, then let's talk about it. Also, I see a lot of people don't know how to question well. So customers don't always know how to ask the right question. And I have some funny stories about dealing with a Maine lobsterman once. And in Maine and what they call the Down East, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, even if you ask an open-ended question, you most often get a yep or a no.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
you really have to work through to gather all the information you want. And if you don't ask the right questions, you don't find the right information. But
You don't get the right answers, right? Yeah, yeah.
and so when I see a service situation where somebody comes in and doesn't know how to ask the right question, but yet the person at the counter has been dealing with 30 people already today, they all have the same question. It shouldn't be boring to the customer service person. Like they're in their head, they might be thinking, oh my God, how many times do I have to repeat this? But wait a minute. You
Right.
only have that one person in front of you now. It is a new experience for that person. So people sometimes don't make that connection. It's the
Mm,
customer's experience I have to do. So I will have to repeat myself and sound excited and
exactly.
enthusiastic. So that's the arena I like to break things
Right.
down into because I find that's what customer service reps sometimes don't get.
Yeah, I think you nailed a critical point. It reminds me of this boss I had when I was younger, and I would ask him for specific advice, and I would tell him, but I feel like I'm rewriting the same messaging over and over again. This is not very creative. And he said to me, you know what, Judy? There's a new person looking at it every single time. It's because you're looking from in to out because you're the one writing it. And I remember that when I was beginning my career, and it always stuck with me to look from the perspective of the customer because there's so many out there, but because you're an expertise in what you do, you think you're somewhat monotone and boring because you're saying the same thing, but you're not because you're still marketing to thousands of millions of people that have never even talked to you yet.
Right.
And I just think that's such a critical point is to operate and see from the customer's eyes, not yours.
It's really good coaching because I've been in the situation that I explained earlier where I see people, getting bored with the repetition on their part, but I've also
Right.
seen organizations and companies come in and put time constraints on calls. So they've gone into a
Mhm.
customer service call should take only 6 minutes if you're in a call center.
Right.
And it gets to the point where the company itself can start telling these people to take shortcuts, but they still send them to classes to learn customer service. I've seen the disconnect on both sides. The company has an expectation, but wait a minute, that isn't measuring the culture that you want to be delivering, or the attitude, or the service, or the flavor of the company. And so
Yeah.
there's so many places to disconnect in business.
Yeah. I think you're pointing out more like on the operational side and the
Mhm.
top flowing down from management. And for me, because I'm in marketing and digital marketing, I see it more from that angle, which is cohesiveness. So there
Mhm.
needs to be cohesiveness and consistency in your branding as far as your messaging, in your delivery, and in your integrity. If a company or a brand truly knows who they are and brand identity, that should be communicated through all the venues that they broadcast in digital campaigns. And that
Right.
includes the people and the staff. And what you're saying about the disconnect is there's the management and then there's the people, or there's the brand, but they're not truly syndicating that throughout every venue yet. They're just maybe doing it here or there. So I think the cohesiveness and being harmonious with your entire brand identity is a huge game changer. I think there's an awareness or an unawareness that happens with companies because they're so busy doing the actual work that they don't
Right.
really step back to evaluate these little, I call them bottlenecks. You have to sit back sometimes and stop what you're doing to look at the bottleneck of the business. Like, where is the holdup here? Why is it not getting the revenue? Is it the top of the sales funnel? Is it your customer experience? Is it a flaw in your product or your consulting service? There's got to be multiple areas where you can go in to identify what is blocking your end goal.
Right. Well, I have a wild experience, and it's been years, where I was in the education and training department for a company.
Right.
I was the soft skills expert, and they wanted to bring in a program that was supposed to be about having fun. Now, the culture in the company was is we serve certain member groups. So we had all sorts of cultural things that had gone on for almost the 100 years the company had been in business. But what was starting to disconnect was the behavior the company expected you to have, and then the systems that they had out there that weren't working. So management, it wasn't always coming through loud and clear how the culture was supposed to transition into each department.
Right.
And so they brought this to, and I fought this.
Oh, wow.
You are not setting up a program to allow anybody to continue this. There's major resistance for this now, and you're going to throw me into the room, and as a messenger, I'm going to get cremated, but that is not what I'm worried about. What I know is that you're going to do this program, and it's going to drop like a bomb, and everybody's only going to talk about the time that was wasted. I trained throughout the building of 300 some odd employees. I knew the routine. I knew the discontent. And nope, you're going to do it. And I even got to the point where I had managers arguing me in the room. Well, like, why are they there? And I said, I am the messenger. I said, I will relay your message, but for now, we have your whole team here. Let's make the best of it.
Right.
And it didn't go anywhere. It was one of the most exciting programs out there, but it was about bringing fun into the organization. And it was a great program. It didn't fit our culture.
Right.
And too many companies choose Band-Aids, I think.
They choose what?
Band-Aids.
Yeah. I think you're probably reflecting back what they already truly know, but they just don't want to take a look or recognize that nobody really likes to face their own flaws or whatever it is. You know,
Right.
you're mirroring back to what is going on. And some of us like to just trailblaze and get to the truth and knock it out. And some people don't
Right.
like to do that. I'm more of that kind of person. I just like to knock out the truth and move on. But some people, they just put it under the carpet and just keep repeating the same pattern, and the same problems still perpetuate for how many years in business.
One of the questions that I often ask people is, how long has this been going on? How long has this been a concern? What else have you tried? And when I can see a repeating pattern, we have to talk about the pattern before we can talk about anything I can offer. And it's a hard conversation, I think, for either of us to have with people. Most people appreciate a little bit of directness. That's why they bring us in.
I think so too. I think that's why people actually hire us, because that's what we do. Think about it. All this work, all this money, budget put forth. And if you don't have an ultimate 5-star customer experience, you pretty much just really don't have much to stand on. You could have a great product, great brand, but if your customer experience actually sucks, there's a gaping hole.
There is. And I think one of the challenges is for everybody to just grin and bear it. Get out to the front desk sometime, or get out to wherever it is you're going to meet the people. And you may not like what you hear, but then go back and reflect on it. Don't react to it. Don't respond to it. There always has to be some kind of a come together if you're going to have your customer service message match your delivery.
And I think another thing is identifying all the touch points of what that customer experience looks like, online and in person. So that's another major point, is following the customer journey. What does a brand have to do in order to accommodate and fulfill each touch point to make it stellar?
For today, I think the best summary is just don't promise customer service. Go check it out every once in a while. See if it's up to par.
Right.
And make sure that everybody has bought in to what it's going to take.